Hello dear listeners, welcome to another Life History channel. I hope you're ready to sleep. Let your shoulders drop and relax now. Tonight we're sailing into darkness together. We're exploring how pirates actually slept. Before we start the video today, reading your comments motivates me, friends. Please subscribe and like the video. If you have ideas, write them below. Now let us start our story. Close your eyes and clear your mind. Now take a deep and slow breath. Let go of all your daily stress. We are going on a long journey. Imagine you are far away from home. We're going back to medieval times. Imagine the year is 1400. You're standing on a creaking deck. The Atlantic Ocean stretches everywhere around. Salt spray hits your weathered face. Wind howls through torn canvas sails. Wooden planks groan beneath your feet. You can smell rotting fish everywhere. Tar and unwashed bodies fill air. The ship rocks constantly under stars. Waves crash against the aging hull. Your breath creates small clouds tonight. Temperature drops as darkness grows deeper. You're exhausted from 14 hours work. Your hands are raw from rope. Your back aches from constant labor. The deck is slippery with seawater. Other pirates move like silent shadows. Everyone seeks rest before dawn comes. The captain disappeared into his cabin. That small room has actual walls. He owns the only real bed. You own nothing but your clothes. Your sleeping spot waits down below. The lower deck is completely dark. You climb down a narrow ladder. Splinters catch on your rough hands. The smell down here is terrible. Dozens of men sleep in this cramped space beneath the deck. No windows exist in this prison. Only a few flickering candles burn. Shadows dance on damp wooden walls. Water drips from ceiling boards constantly. The floor is never completely dry. Mold grows in every dark corner. You see your sleeping area ahead. It's a space between two cannons, maybe 3 feet of personal room. You share this with another sailor. He's already snoring loudly on straw. Medieval ships carried no proper beds. Hammocks didn't exist in these times. Brazilian natives used them for centuries. Europeans hadn't discovered them yet. That innovation came much later on, so you sleep on bare wood or on piles of old straw. Some lucky sailors had rough blankets. Most wrapped themselves in spare canvas, the same material used for sails, stiff fabric that trapped no heat. You unfold your own canvas sheet. It smells like mildew and salt. The fabric is stiff as cardboard. You lay it on the damp wooden floor beneath you. Then you curl up on it. Your body heat is your only real source of warmth. The ship rocks harder as waves grow larger through night. You roll slightly with each motion. Your hip bone presses against wood. There's no padding beneath you tonight. Your shoulder aches within 5 minutes. You shift trying to find comfort, but comfort doesn't exist down here. The temperature keeps dropping steadily lower. Your breath becomes visible in darkness. You estimate it's around 40 degrees, maybe colder with the wind chill. The ocean wind penetrates every crack. Air whistles through gaps in planks. You pull the canvas tighter around. It does almost nothing for warmth. Your feet are already going numb. You wore the same boots all day through rain and spray. Now they're soaked completely through inside. But you can't remove them tonight. The deck floor is too cold. Frostbite could claim your toes easily. So you keep wet boots on. Your socks are damp wool inside. They itch terribly against your skin. Other men cough constantly around you. Disease spreads quickly in these conditions. Tuberculosis kills more pirates than combat. Pneumonia takes many during winter voyages. You've seen strong men die suddenly. 1 week healthy, next week gone. Their bodies get thrown into ocean. No ceremony, no prayers, nothing special. Just another sailor lost to sea. You try not to think about death as you lie here. Instead, you focus on staying warm. You breathe into your cupped hands. Warm air trapped briefly before escaping. Your fingers are stiff from cold. Earlier today you climbed frozen rigging. Ice formed on every rope overnight. Your hands still burn from that. The rope tore skin from palms. Now those wounds sting in cold. Salt from ocean spray makes worse the pain you feel. You hear rats scratching in darkness. They live everywhere on these ships. Hundreds of them in the hull. They eat the food supplies constantly. They chew through ropes and wood. They spread disease with their droppings. Sometimes they crawl over sleeping men. You felt one cross your leg. Your leg just moments ago tonight. You kicked it away without thinking. It squeaked and scurried into shadows. You hate rats more than anything, more than storms or enemy ships. The man beside you stops snoring. He mumbles something in his sleep, words you can't quite understand clearly. Maybe he's dreaming of home now, of a warm fire in cottage, of a wife who once waited. Most pirates ran from terrible lives. Poverty, crime, or cruel masters drove them to this desperate existence. The sea offered a strange freedom wrapped in constant deadly danger. You chose this life 3 years. 3 years ago, when options disappeared. Farm work paid almost nothing then. Cities offered only disease and starvation. The Navy pressed men into service that meant certain death eventually. But pirates elected their own captains. They voted on where to sail. They shared treasure relatively equally among all crew members who survived. Democracy existed only on pirate ships, nowhere else in medieval world then. Of course, democracy didn't include warmth. It didn't provide comfortable sleeping arrangements. Everyone suffered equally in the cold. Rich and poor froze together nightly. Your teeth start to chatter now. You clench jaw trying to stop the involuntary shaking of muscles. Your whole body begins to shiver. Shivering is the body's defense mechanism. Muscles contract rapidly, generating heat temporarily, but shivering also exhausts you quickly, burns precious calories you can't replace. Food on ships is always scarce. Today you ate salted pork only. 1 small piece for entire day. Some hardtack biscuits full of weevils. You ate the insects without complaint. Protein is protein when you're starving. Fresh water was rationed to cups. 1 cup per man per day. Never enough to quench real thirst. Your lips are cracked and bleeding. Your tongue feels thick in mouth. Dehydration makes the cold feel worse. Makes worse every discomfort you endure. You wonder what time it is. No clocks exist on this ship. Time is measured by watch schedules, by the movement of stars overhead. You finished your watch 3 hours. 3 hours ago when sun disappeared. Now you have maybe 4 hours. 4 hours to sleep before dawn, before someone kicks you awake roughly, before another day of brutal work. Climbing rigging in freezing rain again, hauling ropes until hands bleed fresh, scrubbing decks with salt water and sand, checking cannons for rust and damage, mending sails torn by violent winds. The work never ends on ships. There's always something requiring immediate attention. something broken or wearing out quickly. Ships are constantly falling apart slowly. Wood rots from constant moisture exposure. Metal corrodes from salt in air. Ropes fray from friction and weather. Every day brings new repairs needed, and every night brings this cold, this bone-deep cold that never leaves. You've forgotten what warmth feels like, real warmth from a proper fire. The memory of heat feels distant, like something from a previous lifetime. You lived in a village once. That village had a communal fire. People gathered there during winter evenings. You remember sitting close to flames, feeling heat soak into your bones. Your mother cooked stew in pot. The smell of cooking food filled the air with wonderful promise. You haven't smelled cooking in months, only the stench of rot everywhere. Your stomach growls thinking about stew, that hollow ache of constant hunger. Pirates dream more of food, usually. More of food than treasure, honestly. Gold means nothing when you're starving, when your gums bleed from scurvy, when your teeth fall from infected sockets in your jaw. You've lost 2 teeth already this voyage that started in September. Now it's deep into December cold. 3 months at sea without land, without fresh fruit or vegetables available. Your body slowly breaks down inside. Vitamin deficiency causes terrible symptoms gradually. Wounds heal slower than they should. Bruises last for weeks on skin. Your joints ache constantly every morning. Moving becomes harder with each day. But you hide the pain carefully. Weak men get left on islands or thrown overboard during the night. Pirates can't afford to carry burden. Every man must pull his weight, must work regardless of pain suffered. You've seen sick men try hiding their symptoms from others, fear in their eyes every morning, hoping nobody notices their growing weakness. One man started coughing blood last week during the evening meal. He tried to hide it quietly, but everyone heard that wet cough, saw the red staining his hand. The captain decided his fate immediately, threw him overboard before sunrise came. His screams echoed across dark water, then silence as waves swallowed sound. Nobody mentioned him again after that. His sleeping space was claimed instantly by another sailor seeking better position. That's how life works on ships. Death creates opportunity for the living. You try to push away thoughts, dark thoughts that circle like sharks. Focus instead on the gentle rocking, the constant motion of the ship. After months at sea, you barely notice the movement anymore. Your body adapted to endless swaying. Land feels strange when you return. The ground seems to move beneath your feet for days afterward. Sailors call that feeling sea legs. Your brain expects motion that isn't there on solid, stable ground. But right now you need sleep. Your body demands rest despite cold, despite discomfort and fear and hunger. Exhaustion eventually overcomes everything else completely. Your eyelids grow heavy in darkness. The sounds around you start fading into a distant background murmur, coughing, snoring, creaking wood, rushing water. All these sounds blend together smoothly, creating a strange symphony of misery. Your breathing slows to steady rhythm, in and out through cracked lips, each breath visible in freezing air. Your muscles begin to relax finally. Tension drains from shoulders and neck. Your jaw unclenches after hours tight. The shivering gradually becomes less violent. Your body conserves energy for tomorrow, tomorrow's work that will break you down again piece by piece until next night comes and you return to this space, this tiny space between two cannons, to sleep without warmth or comfort, to survive another night somehow, miraculously. This is the life you chose, or rather the life that chose you when options disappeared, when the world offered nothing but suffering in slightly different forms. At least here you're free technically, free to freeze and starve equally, free to die from disease or violence or the angry ocean, but free nonetheless from landlocked masters, from lords who owned your labour, from laws that protected only rich. Out here on the endless sea, different rules apply to desperate men, survival rules that make no exceptions, that show no mercy to weakness. Your thoughts drift as sleep approaches. You remember the first night aboard, that first night 3 years ago. You thought you might die then. The cold felt impossible to survive. Your body shook so hard continuously. You couldn't imagine lasting till dawn. But somehow you did survive it, and the next night after that, and hundreds of nights since then. The human body adapts to horror, adjusts to conditions that seem impossible. You learn to sleep in freezing temperatures that should kill. You learn to ignore the hunger, to function on minimal food daily. You learn to push through exhaustion when muscles screamed for rest denied. The body is more resilient than anyone realizes until tested severely. You've become something different now entirely, harder than the boy who left that village 3 years past. That boy feared cold and darkness. This man lives inside them constantly. That boy dreamed of adventure excitedly. This man knows adventure means suffering, means watching friends die horrible deaths, means going days without adequate food, means freezing every single night endlessly. But that boy is gone forever, replaced by someone who can endure what would break normal people. Someone who sleeps on freezing wood, who wraps in canvas for warmth, who accepts rats as sleeping companions, who eats weevils without second thought, who watches men die without emotion, who survives because survival is everything. Sleep begins to take you now. Your consciousness starts to drift away. The cold becomes distant and abstract. Pain fades into background noise gradually. Your breathing deepens into sleep rhythm. The ship rocks you like cradle. A cold, hard, miserable cradle, obviously. But a cradle nonetheless in darkness. Your mind releases its grip finally, on worry and fear and pain. Dreams begin to form in darkness. Strange dreams mixing memory with fantasy. You're walking through your old village. Snow covers everything in white blankets, but you're somehow warm inside coat. A coat you never actually owned. Fire burns in every cottage window. Smoke rises from stone chimneys peacefully. You smell bread baking somewhere close. Your stomach doesn't hurt in dream. Your mother waves from the doorway. She looks younger than you remember. Her smile is wide and welcoming. You try to walk toward her, but your feet won't move forward. The snow is somehow holding you. You're sinking slowly into white drifts. The warmth starts to fade away. Cold seeps back into your bones. Your mother's face becomes a stranger. The village dissolves into ocean mist. You're back on the ship again, but still asleep in your mind. Now you're climbing frozen rigging high. Ice cuts your hands like knives. The wind tears at your clothes. You look down at deck below. It's impossibly far away suddenly. One slip means certain death instantly. Your hands are losing their grip. The rope is slipping through fingers. You try to hold on tighter, but your strength is completely gone. You start to fall through air. Wind rushes past your falling body. The deck rushes up to meet you with deadly force. You jerk awake, breathing hard suddenly. Your heart pounds in your chest. Sweat covers your freezing skin now. The dream felt absolutely real completely. You're still in the lower deck, still wrapped in your canvas sheet, still alive for another night yet. Your breathing slowly returns to normal. Your heart rate gradually calms down. The panic fades back into background. Just another nightmare among thousands experienced. Pirates rarely sleep peacefully at night. Dreams are haunted by constant dangers, by memories of violence and death, by fears of tomorrow's uncertainties ahead. Your mind never truly rests anymore. Even in sleep you're half alert, ready to wake at any sound, ready to respond to any threat. This constant vigilance wears you down, grinds away at your mental stability, makes you harder and colder inside. You've seen men lose their minds, seen them start talking to themselves, seen them jump overboard voluntarily suddenly. The sea takes bodies and minds. It doesn't discriminate in its cruelty. Everyone suffers equally in the end. You adjust your position slightly again. Try to find some comfort impossible. Your hip bone screams in protest. The wooden floor is completely unforgiving. No amount of shifting helps much. You'll wake with bruises tomorrow definitely. The same bruises in same places. Purple and yellow marks on skin. They never fully heal between nights. Your body is a map now, a map of all your suffering. Every scar tells a different story. Rope burns on both your palms, a knife wound on left shoulder, frostbite scars on 3 toes already, a tooth missing from bar fight, split lip from captain's fist once, broken nose that healed crooked permanently. You're 23 years old technically, but you look 40 in reflection. The sea ages men incredibly fast, steals youth and replaces with hardness, replaces innocence with brutal pragmatism entirely. You wonder how much longer you can survive, how many more winters at sea, how many more freezing nights endured. Statistics aren't in your favor, honestly. Most pirates die within 5 years. Disease, combat, execution, or drowning ends. Ends most careers before reaching 30. You've already survived 3 years now. That makes you a veteran already. The newer crew members watch you. They see you as experienced survivor. They ask you questions about life, about how to endure the suffering. You tell them the same thing someone told you once. You survive by not thinking ahead, by focusing only on today's tasks, by not counting the days remaining, by accepting that tomorrow might not come for you anyway, by making peace with that reality. Some find comfort in that philosophy. Others find it deeply depressing, obviously. But depression is a luxury here. You can't afford emotions that weaken, can't afford hope that leads to disappointment when it's crushed inevitably. Better to expect nothing from life. Better to be surprised by survival than disappointed by the inevitable suffering. Your eyes are heavy again now. Sleep pulls at your consciousness strongly. You stop fighting it this time. Let yourself sink into the darkness, into the cold embrace of unconsciousness. Your breathing becomes shallow and regular. The ship's movement rocks you gently. The sounds fade into white noise. Coughing and snoring become distant music. Your body temperature drops slightly lower. Your metabolism slows to conserve energy. Your heart rate decreases gradually naturally. This is how pirates survive winter, by becoming almost hibernating in sleep, by letting their bodies shut down to minimal functioning temporarily overnight. It's not comfortable in any way. It's not healthy by any measure, but it works well enough usually. Well enough to wake at dawn, well enough to work another day, well enough to survive until spring, when temperatures rise above freezing finally. When the worst of winter passes, you dream again in the darkness, this time of a tropical island, white sand beaches stretching endlessly far, palm trees swaying in warm breeze, clear blue water lapping at shore, the sun beating down with heat, real heat that penetrates your bones, that drives away the constant cold, that makes you feel alive again. You're lying in warm sand, comfortable. No canvas sheet beneath you now, no wooden planks bruising your body, just soft sand moulding to shape, supporting you gently like cloud somehow. The warmth is absolutely incredible here. You can feel your muscles relaxing, feel tension melting away completely finally, feel peace for the first time in 3 long years. This dream feels more real somehow, more vivid than previous dreams tonight. You can smell salt air differently, sweet instead of rotting and foul. You can hear waves gently lapping instead of crashing against wooden hull. You can see colours so bright, brighter than anything in reality exists. The sky's impossibly blue above, not the grey you're used to, not the threatening storm clouds always, just pure blue stretching forever endlessly. A few white clouds drift lazily, moving slowly across perfect sky naturally. You close your eyes in dream. Feel the sun on your face, warming skin that's been frozen forever. This is what heaven feels like, if heaven exists for people like you who chose pirate life. You know you're dreaming obviously here, but you don't want to wake, don't want to return to cold, to the freezing lower deck reality, to the suffering that waits there. So you stay in the dream, stay on this warm tropical beach for as long as your mind allows this precious escape tonight. Time passes differently in dreams always. Minutes can feel like hours sometimes. Hours can pass in seeming seconds. You have no idea how long you've been sleeping now really. Could be minutes or hours past. The ship's bell will ring eventually, ring to wake the next watch. Then someone will kick you awake, kick you roughly without any sympathy, tell you to get on deck for your shift. But until that moment arrives soon, you're safe here in this dream, safe on this warm beach paradise, safe from cold and hunger temporarily, safe from rats and disease briefly, safe from the brutal reality existing. The dream begins to fade slowly. Darkness creeps in from edges gradually. The warmth starts to dissipate away. Cold seeps back into your awareness. You try to hold on to warmth, but it slips through your fingers, like sand through an hourglass falling, like water through cupped hands always. You can't keep dreams from ending, can't stop reality from returning inevitably. The beach disappears into black void. The sun vanishes behind storm clouds. The warm sand becomes hardwood. The gentle waves become ships rocking. You're back in the lower deck, back in your canvas-wrapped body, back in the freezing darkness completely, back to the suffering that defines your existence these days. But you had those few moments of imagined warmth, those few moments of peace briefly. That's more than many pirates get, more than some ever experience again. You'll hold on to that dream memory, hold on to it through tomorrow's work, through tomorrow's cold and pain definitely, through whatever horrors tomorrow brings next. That dream will sustain you somehow, will give you strength to continue surviving against all odds, to continue breathing through another day, to continue existing in this hell. Because that's what pirates do ultimately. They survive when they shouldn't reasonably. They endure the completely unbearable reality. They find ways to keep going, even when every reason says stop, even when death seems more appealing. They wake up and work again. They sleep in freezing conditions nightly. They eat rotten food without complaint. They watch friends die without breaking. They sail into storms without hesitation. They fight enemies without mercy shown. They do whatever survival demands completely, without question or moral contemplation much, because morality is a luxury too. A luxury they can't afford here, out here on the endless ocean, where only the strong survive long, where the weak disappear without trace, where compassion is a deadly weakness, where hardness is the only virtue. Your breathing has settled completely now. Your body has stopped shivering temporarily. You've reached a state of equilibrium, not comfortable but tolerable barely tonight, not warm but not freezing deadly, not rested but not completely exhausted. This is the best you'll feel. Feel until dawn breaks over water, until another day of hell begins, until you drag yourself from this miserable spot on freezing floor, until you climb back up ladder, back up to the deck above, back to face whatever comes next, whether that's work or storms ahead, whether that's combat or just suffering, whether that's another day or death. You don't know what tomorrow holds. Nobody knows on a pirate ship. Death can come at any moment, from any direction without warning always. A falling spar can crush you. A frayed rope can send falling. A wave can wash you overboard. A disease can take you overnight. An enemy blade can find you. The captain can decide you're done. 1,000 ways to die exist. On a medieval sailing ship constantly. You've seen most of them personally. Watched men die in countless ways. Some deaths were quick and merciful. Others were slow and agonizing completely. You prefer not to think about which kind awaits you eventually. Better to focus on surviving today, on making it through this night, on waking up at dawn tomorrow, on working through another brutal day. One day at a time is all you can manage to handle. Planning further ahead is pointless, truly. The future is completely unknowable here. You might die tomorrow or live another 30 years, theoretically unlikely. But dwelling on possibilities helps nothing. Worrying changes nothing about fate decided. So you learn to stop both, to exist in the eternal present, to focus only on immediate needs, to ignore past regrets and fears. This mental discipline keeps you sane, keeps you functional when others break, keeps you alive when others die. Other men talk about the future, about retiring with their treasure share, about buying farms or taverns somewhere, about settling down with nice women, about having children and normal lives. You used to have those dreams. Those dreams died long ago completely, replaced by simple survival instinct only, by the desire to see tomorrow. Not because tomorrow will be better, but because tomorrow means you survived, means you beat the odds again, means you're still breathing somehow miraculously. That's enough reason to continue trying. That's enough purpose to sustain you. Some pirates lose that basic drive, that fundamental will to keep living. Their eyes go empty and dead. They stop caring about anything at all. They take foolish risks without thinking. They volunteer for suicide missions readily. They welcome death like old friend. You've seen that transformation happen often, watched men give up internally first, before their bodies actually died later. The light just goes out inside, leaving only a shell behind temporarily. Those men never last long afterward, days or weeks at most usually. Then something claims them finally completely. You refuse to let that happen, refuse to give up that way, refuse to surrender to the darkness, even when darkness seems all around, even when hope seems completely gone, even when surviving seems impossible daily. You keep fighting to stay alive, keep forcing yourself to endure more, keep pushing through each terrible day, because the alternative is unacceptable completely. The alternative is giving up entirely. The alternative is letting the sea win this battle. You won't give it that satisfaction, won't let it claim you easily. If death wants you, it must take you while you fight, must pry life from your fingers, must overcome your stubborn will completely. You won't go quietly into darkness, won't surrender without a fight first. This defiance defines you now entirely. This stubborn refusal to quit trying, this determination to survive despite everything, despite the cold and hunger always, despite the pain and fear constantly, despite the loneliness and despair deeply, despite every rational reason to stop. You are drifting deeper now, into true sleep finally at last. The kind of sleep where dreams don't form at all, where consciousness simply ceases temporarily completely, where your mind goes completely blank, where nothing exists but darkness pure. This is the sleep you need, the sleep that actually restores somewhat, not the fitful dreaming from earlier, but deep unconsciousness that heals slightly, that gives your body rest needed, that lets your mind escape briefly. Your breathing becomes very shallow now, barely noticeable in the darkness surrounding. Your chest rises and falls minutely. Your heart rate drops to minimum. Your body enters conservation mode fully. Every system slows to essential only. This is how humans survive cold, by becoming almost dormant in sleep, by reducing all unnecessary functions temporarily. Your body knows how to survive, even when your mind doubts capability. Instincts older than civilization itself guide you through the night safely, keep you alive until morning comes, maintain the spark of life burning, even in the most hostile conditions, even when logic says death inevitable. The human body fights to survive. Time passes in the darkness slowly. Minutes blend into hours seamlessly flowing. The night wears on without end. The ship continues its endless journey, cutting through black water toward nowhere, driven by winds that never stop. Other men sleep around you fitfully, each fighting their own private battles, each surviving in their own way. Some sleep better than others naturally. Some have learned tricks you haven't. Some are just naturally more resilient. The youngest crew members sleep worst, still adjusting to this brutal life, still shocked by the constant suffering. They cry sometimes in their sleep, quiet sobs they think nobody hears, but everyone hears in the silence. Nobody mentions it in the morning. Showing weakness invites cruelty from others, so everyone pretends not to notice. The older pirates sleep like dead. They've learned to shut everything out, to escape mentally from physical misery. They can sleep anywhere in anything, on deck in pouring rain even, standing up against the mast sometimes. That skill comes from years of deprivation and exhaustion accumulated. Your body learns to take rest. Take rest whenever opportunity presents itself, because you never know when next chance will come again. You're somewhere between these two extremes, not young enough to cry anymore, not old enough to sleep anywhere. You've developed some coping mechanisms already, but haven't mastered the art completely. You're still learning how to survive, learning the hard way through experience, through trial and error and suffering, through watching others and copying techniques. Every night teaches you something new, about endurance and human limits both, about what the body can tolerate, about what the mind can endure, about the thin line between survival and giving up entirely. You walk that line every day. Every night you teeter on edge between continuing or just letting go. So far you've chosen to continue, chosen to wake up each morning, chosen to face another day ahead. Tomorrow you'll make that choice again, whether to keep fighting or surrender, whether to survive or simply stop. For now you're sleeping deeply though, lost in the void of unconsciousness, beyond dreams and thoughts and awareness, beyond cold and pain and fear, beyond everything that makes you suffer. In this place you're finally free. Free from your body's constant complaints, free from your mind's endless worries, free from the ship's demands always, free from everything that weighs you down during waking hours. This freedom is temporary, obviously brief. Dawn will come too soon inevitably. The bell will ring, breaking peace. Someone will kick you awake roughly. The suffering will resume where left off just hours before. The cycle will continue endlessly onward. But for these few precious hours, you're free in a way impossible. Impossible to experience while awake daily. Sleep is the only escape available, the only respite from constant misery, the only time you're not aware of hunger or cold, not aware of pain or fear, not aware of your desperate situation. So you cling to sleep desperately. Let it take you completely away. Let it carry you through darkness, through the darkest hours of night, through the coldest part of evening, through the time when most men die in their sleep, from hypothermia or heart failure both, from bodies that just give up. You've woken to find dead men, find them frozen beside you stiff, their eyes open staring at nothing, their skin blue-grey in candlelight flickering, their lips purple and drawn back, their bodies rigid as wood planks. Those mornings are the worst ones, when you realize how close death came to claiming you too. How easily you could have been the one who didn't wake, been the corpse being dragged away. The other pirates show no emotion. They simply remove the body quickly, take it up to be thrown overboard without any ceremony whatsoever. Just another casualty of pirate life. Just another empty space created suddenly. Someone else will claim that spot. We'll sleep there tonight without thought. without considering who died there last. Death means nothing on these ships, happens too often to mourn properly, happens too randomly to prevent, really. You could do everything right perfectly, eat well, stay warm, stay strong, and still die from random illness, or you could do everything wrong, ignore health, take stupid risks constantly, and somehow survive for years inexplicably. There's no fairness in who survives, no logic to who lives or dies on any given day. It's pure chance mixed with stubbornness, mixed with a bit of skill, mixed with a lot of luck. You've been lucky so far, clearly. 3 years alive is impressive, truly. Most die in their first winter. Their bodies can't adapt fast enough, can't handle the sudden brutal conditions, can't survive the shock of it. But you adapted somehow successfully early, learned quickly how to endure suffering, learned what your body could handle, learned when to push and when to conserve energy for later, when to eat and when fast, when to sleep and when stay. Stay alert despite exhaustion overwhelming you. These lessons saved your life repeatedly, will likely save it again tomorrow. If you can just survive tonight, if you can just wake up when the bell rings, wake up and function somehow again, wake up and face another day. Your breathing changes slightly in sleep, becomes irregular for a few moments. Your body shifts position unconsciously, trying to relieve pressure onto bones. Your hip rolls to different angle. Your shoulder adjusts against the floor. These micro adjustments happen automatically constantly throughout the night without your awareness. Your body protecting itself from injury, from staying too long in position, in one damaging position that causes bed sores or nerve damage permanent. Even unconscious, your body fights for survival with every breath, fights to keep you alive somehow. It's remarkable really when you think about human resilience shown, about what the body can do when pushed beyond normal limits of endurance completely, beyond what should be survivable realistically. You're living proof of that now, walking evidence that humans can adapt, can survive in conditions that seem impossible from outside looking in. Someone from your old village would never believe you sleep like this, would never understand how you survive, would think you're lying about conditions, would assume you're exaggerating the suffering, but you're not exaggerating anything at all. If anything, you're downplaying the reality, the true horror of this existence, because describing it accurately would sound too unbelievable to be true, would sound like fiction or exaggeration. But this is your actual life. This is how you exist daily. This is the price of freedom. Freedom from landlocked poverty and oppression. Freedom from lords and laws unjust. Freedom from a society that offered nothing but suffering differently packaged then. At least here the suffering has a purpose beyond enriching others wealthy. Here you suffer for yourself potentially, for your own potential gain eventually, for treasure that might come someday. Most pirates never see real treasure, never get their share of riches, die before any big score happens, but the possibility exists, theoretically at least. The dream of wealth keeps them going through endless misery, keeps them believing tomorrow might be the day everything changes, might be when the suffering pays off with a massive prize, a Spanish galleon full of gold, a merchant ship loaded with spices, something that makes it all worthwhile, something that justifies the years of freezing and starving and suffering. You don't really believe that anymore. Don't expect to ever be rich. Don't imagine treasure in your future. You survive now out of habit, out of stubborn refusal to quit, out of momentum that keeps going. Going because stopping seems harder somehow strangely. Because dying requires giving up completely. Because living requires just continuing onward. So you continue sleeping in cold, continue waking to brutal work daily, continue existing in this miserable state, continue because you don't know how to do anything else anymore. This has become your normal existence. Your body is completely adapted now, adapted to conditions that once seemed impossible to survive even briefly. Your mind has accepted this reality, accepted that comfort will never come, accepted that warmth is memory only, accepted that this is life now. This is what existence means for a pirate on medieval seas. The night continues its slow march. March toward inevitable dawn approaching soon, toward the moment when rest ends, when you must rise and work. Work until your body breaks again, until night returns and you collapse. The cycle repeats endlessly forward always, day after day without variation much, each one bleeding into the next. Time loses meaning on long voyages. Days become indistinguishable from each other. Weeks blur into months seamlessly together. You've lost track of exact dates. Don't know what day it is. Don't care about calendars or time. Only the seasons matter out here. Winter and summer and the transitions, cold and hot and moderate between. Right now it's deepest winter, obviously, the coldest part of the year, the most dangerous time for sailing. But pirates sail year-round regardless always. They can't afford to wait for better weather or conditions. They need to keep hunting prizes, keep searching for ships to raid, keep moving to avoid naval patrols. The sea doesn't stop for winter. Neither can those who live on it and by its cruel mercy. Your sleep deepens even further now impossibly. You've reached the bottom of unconsciousness, where nothing penetrates from outside world, where you're completely unreachable, temporarily safe, where death could come without warning, without you even noticing its approach. This is the most vulnerable time, when hypothermia could claim you silently, when your body temperature could drop below critical threshold without recovery, when your heart could simply stop, when breathing could quietly cease permanently. But your body is resilient enough, has survived hundreds of nights like this one without failing yet, has learned to maintain minimum function, to keep vital systems operating barely, to stay just warm enough somehow. The canvas traps some body heat. Not much, but enough to matter. Enough to make the difference between survival and freezing death overnight. Between waking up or never waking. Between life and permanent darkness complete. Around you other men continue sleeping, each fighting their own private battle, each maintaining their own spark alive. The collective body heat helps slightly. Dozens of men in enclosed space raises the temperature a few degrees. Not enough to be comfortable ever, but enough to prevent immediate death. Enough to make survival possible barely. Without this shared space, you'd die. Die within hours of exposure, certainly. The open deck would kill you, would freeze you solid by morning, would turn you into a corpse, a rigid, frozen statue of suffering. So despite the crowding and stench, despite the disease and the rats, despite everything awful about this space, it keeps you alive through darkness, keeps all of you breathing somehow, keeps the crew functional for tomorrow. The ship creaks constantly around you, wood groaning under stress and strain, nails pulling against soaked wood planks. These sounds would terrify most people, would sound like the ship breaking apart beneath the waves surging. But you've learned to interpret them. to distinguish normal sounds from dangerous, to know when worry is needed. Right now everything sounds normal relatively, the usual groans and creaks only, nothing indicating immediate danger present currently. Though danger is always present really, always lurking just beyond awareness sight. A storm could rise within minutes, a leak could open without warning, a fire could start from candles, an enemy ship could appear suddenly. Pirates live with constant uncertainty always, never knowing what next hour brings, never able to relax completely ever. Even in sleep you're somewhat alert, some part of your brain stays monitoring for threats approaching constantly, ready to wake at unusual sounds, ready to respond to danger instantly, ready to fight or flee immediately. This constant vigilance is exhausting deeply, never truly resting even when sleeping, never fully recovered from previous exertion. You exist in perpetual, partial exhaustion, in a state between functional and completely broken down from overwork. Just functional enough to keep going, just broken enough to be suffering, balanced on that knife edge always. This is the pirate life truly. This is what freedom actually costs. This is the price of defiance. Defiance against the world that rejected you and offered nothing. That made piracy seem attractive somehow. You wonder sometimes if you'd choose differently, knowing what you know, knowing the true cost of freedom. Probably not honestly speaking truthfully here, because the alternative was worse really. Slow starvation, or prison or death. At least here you're alive still, alive and moving and breathing air, alive with possibility however small, remote, however unlikely that possibility may seem. It exists in theory at least, more than you had on land. On land you had no future, no hope of anything better ever. Just grinding poverty until death came. Here you have misery, but also a chance at something more, at treasure or adventure or escape, at seeing distant lands and peoples, at experiencing things impossible otherwise for someone of your low birth. So despite the freezing and hunger, despite the danger and disease always, despite everything awful about this life, you don't regret the choice made, don't wish to return to land, don't want the safety of poverty. You prefer this dangerous freedom instead, prefer the possibility of dying free to the certainty of living enslaved. That's what keeps you going ultimately. That's what makes the suffering bearable. That's what lets you sleep tonight. Sleep on freezing wood without blanket. Sleep surrounded by death and disease. Sleep knowing tomorrow brings more suffering. Because tomorrow you'll still be free. Free to choose your own path, free to live or die by your own decisions and actions, not by someone else's orders given, not by rules you never agreed to follow or accept willingly. Out here you make your own choices and face the consequences. Good or bad, they're yours alone. That ownership means everything to you. Means more than comfort or safety. Means more than warmth or food. Means more than life sometimes even. That's the pirate mindset, completely clear. Value freedom above all other things, above survival or comfort or security, above everything society says matters most. Your breathing remains steady and deep. Your body temperature has stabilized now. You've reached equilibrium with environment cold. Not warm, but not dangerously cold. Not comfortable, but not dying either. Just existing in suspended animation state. This state will last until dawn, until the bell rings breaking sleep, until another day demands your attention. For now you're suspended in darkness, floating in unconscious void, peacefully temporary, free from everything that makes life. Life on these ships so unbearable, free from awareness of your suffering, free from thoughts of tomorrow coming, just existing in the present moment. In this moment of complete stillness, in this moment of peace, impossible to find while awake daily. So you treasure these sleeping hours, these few hours of escape granted, even though they're spent in cold, even though they're physically miserable conditions, even though you're awake with pain in every joint and muscle, bruises on hip and shoulder both, stiffness that takes hours to work out through morning labour, through climbing and hauling and scrubbing, through all the tasks that await. But that's future pain, not present. Right now you're sleeping deeply still. Right now you're free from awareness, free from everything that makes you suffer during waking hours, free in the only way available, the only way pirates ever find freedom, in unconsciousness and dreams and forgetting, in letting go of constant vigilance, in trusting that you'll wake somehow. That morning will come as always, that you'll survive another night completed. You've survived so many already now, hundreds of nights just like this, each one blending into the next, each one taking a small toll, a tiny piece of your humanity, a fragment of who you used to be before this life, before the sea claimed you wholly, before you became this hardened creature, this survivor who sleeps on wood, who eats weevils without flinching once, who watches men die without emotion. You're not sure you recognize yourself, the person you've become through suffering, the person who can endure this. Sometimes you try to remember him, that boy who left the village, that innocent who dreamed of adventure. He seems like a stranger now, someone from a different lifetime entirely, someone who couldn't survive a day of what you endure without even thinking what has become your normal existence. That boy would be horrified by what he became necessary, by what survival demanded of him. But that boy doesn't exist anymore. Died somewhere during these 3 years. Died and was replaced by you, by this harder, colder, stronger version. This version that can survive anything, this version that refuses to quit. You are the evolution of him, the necessary adaptation to environment hostile, the form required for survival here, and you'll continue to evolve further, continue to harden as needed always, continue to become whatever survival demands, because that's what the sea teaches everyone who sails its waters. Adapt or die without mercy shown. There's no middle ground available here, no compromise between survival and death. Either you become strong enough or you join the countless others who rest beneath the waves, others who couldn't adapt fast enough. You refuse to join them yet, refuse to let the sea win, refuse to become another forgotten casualty. So you sleep and you survive, you wake and you work hard, you endure and you continue onward. One day at a time forever, one night at a time through darkness, one breath at a time through suffering. That's all you can do, really. That's all anyone can do here. That's the sum of pirate wisdom. Keep breathing, keep moving, keep surviving. Everything else is unnecessary luxury truly. Everything else is just details minor. Your mind drifts in the darkness. Random thoughts floating through consciousness dimmed. Memories mixing with present sensations felt. You remember warmth from long ago, the feeling of sun on skin, the comfort of a real bed. These memories are fading though slowly, becoming less real with each passing day that takes you further from that previous life lived, further from the person you were, further from anything resembling normal existence. Soon you won't remember warmth clearly, won't remember what comfort felt like, won't remember anything but this suffering. This will be your only reality. This cold and hunger and pain, this endless cycle of survival barely. Maybe that's for the best ultimately. Maybe forgetting makes it easier somehow, makes it easier to endure daily. If you can't remember better times, can't compare present to past comfort, then present becomes tolerable, relatively speaking, becomes just the way things are, the only way things have been, the only way things will be. This amnesia protects you perhaps strangely, protects you from despair that comes from knowing what you lost, from understanding what you sacrificed completely, for this so-called freedom you chose, this freedom that feels like prison. But it's your prison at least, your choice to be here tonight, your decision to continue suffering daily. That ownership still matters to you, still gives meaning to the pain, still makes the sacrifice feel worthwhile. Even if that meaning is questionable, even if that worthwhile is debatable, even if you're lying to yourself, at least they're your lies chosen. Your delusions that keep you going, your stories that make survival possible. Everyone needs stories to survive hardship, needs narratives that explain the suffering, needs meaning imposed on meaningless pain. Otherwise, the pain becomes unbearable truly, becomes impossible to endure without breaking, becomes too much for mind to process and accept and continue. So you create meaning where none exists inherently in the suffering. You tell yourself you're free here. Tell yourself this matters somehow deeply. Tell yourself tomorrow might bring treasure. These stories keep you alive tonight, keep you breathing through the darkness, keep you committed to waking up. Without these stories you'd quit probably, would let the cold take you, would welcome death as relief final. But the stories sustain you still give you reason to endure, still make tomorrow seem worth seeing. So you cling to your stories, your lies and delusions and hopes, your narrative of freedom and possibility. Even as reality contradicts them constantly, even as evidence mounts against them, even as they seem more ridiculous with each passing day, with each night spent freezing here, with each morning of brutal work. The stories persist despite everything contradicting, persist because you need them desperately, persist because without them you're lost. Lost in meaningless suffering without purpose, lost in pain that serves nothing, lost in a life wasted completely. So the stories must be true because the alternative is too terrible to contemplate. You must be free out here, must be living purposefully chosen life, must be heading towards something better. Otherwise, what's the point of this? The point of all this suffering? The point of continuing to breathe? There must be a point somewhere. Some reason this is worthwhile somehow. Some justification for the endless pain. You just haven't found it yet. Haven't seen the payoff coming soon. Haven't reached the moment when everything makes sense in retrospect. When the suffering reveals its purpose. When the pain transforms into meaning. That moment will come eventually, surely. Must come, or else this was all for nothing in the end. You can't accept that possibility truly. Can't face that maybe there's nothing. Nothing waiting at the end here. No treasure, no glory, no redemption, no meaning, no purpose, no point. Just suffering that leads to death. Death that comes for everyone regardless. Regardless of their stories and justifications. Regardless of meaning they created artificially. but you push these dark thoughts away into darkness, back into the void where they belong out of awareness, back to the place where doubts live, the place you don't visit while conscious and functional and working, only in the depth of night, only in the vulnerable hours do these thoughts emerge from hiding, emerge from the shadows where you keep them locked away carefully. They're dangerous thoughts that could break you if you let them, if you examined them too closely, if you followed them to logical conclusions, to the end of their implications, to the truth they point toward. So you don't follow them there. Don't let them speak their truth. Don't acknowledge what they're saying clearly. You push them back into darkness, lock them away until next time, until another vulnerable moment when they escape again temporarily, briefly tonight. But for now, they're contained again. For now, you're safe from them, safe from the truth they carry with them like poison deadly, truth that could kill your will to continue surviving daily, your will to wake up tomorrow, your will to keep breathing through another day of suffering endlessly forward. So the truth must remain hidden, must stay locked in the darkness, where it can't hurt you anymore, can't destroy the stories you need, can't take away your reasons for continuing this pointless struggle somehow daily. This struggle against inevitable death approaching. This fight you can't win ultimately, but you can win today at least. Can survive today and maybe tomorrow. Can string together days into weeks, weeks into months and maybe years. Can postpone the inevitable as long as possible before surrender. That's all any pirate really does. Postpones the inevitable ending coming soon. Delays death through stubborn persistence only. Eventually death wins every single time. Every pirate ends up in ocean. Every rebel eventually gets broken completely. But the delay itself has value. The postponement is the victory small. The continued existence is the triumph. Even if temporary and ultimately doomed, even if meaningless in the end, even if forgotten immediately after death. The fact you lived and fought and refused to surrender easily, refused to accept your assigned fate. That fact alone gives meaning created from nothing but stubborn will, created from refusal to accept defeat. That's the meaning you need tonight. That's the story that sustains you. That's the reason you keep going. You fought and you're still fighting. Still breathing despite everything against you. Still alive when you shouldn't be. That's enough meaning for tonight safely. Enough purpose to justify continuing onward. Enough reason to wake up tomorrow. The stories don't have to be true in any objective sense. They just have to work, practically speaking, have to keep you functional enough to survive another day ahead, enough to endure another night freezing. And they do work well enough, have worked for 3 years now, have kept you alive through impossibility. So you'll keep telling them yourself, keep believing them as much as necessary for survival, keep clinging to whatever lets you continue breathing and fighting, continue refusing to give up completely. That's all survival really is ultimately. Refusing to quit when everything says you should stop trying now, finding reasons to continue when reasons don't exist objectively any more clearly. Creating meaning from nothing but will to see tomorrow despite today, despite today's suffering and tomorrow's promise of more suffering to come. You're good at this by now, good at the mental gymnastics required, good at the self-deception necessary, truly. 3 years have taught you well. taught you how to lie convincingly, lie to yourself, most importantly, successfully. How to believe the lies enough to keep functioning daily forward. Not believe them completely, but enough to get through another night, enough to wake at dawn tomorrow, enough to work despite the pain. That's the skill you've developed here. The skill of functional self-deception practiced. The art of useful delusion maintained. Other men haven't learned this skill, haven't mastered the mental tricks needed. They break down mentally before physically, give up inside while bodies remain technically capable but mind defeated. That's when death comes for them, when the stories stop working anymore, when they can't believe the lies, when reality crushes their constructed meaning. You've seen it happen many times. Watched men lose their internal narrative. Watched their eyes go dead inside. Watched them stop caring about survival. Stop trying to protect themselves carefully. Stop avoiding obvious dangers present always. Within days or weeks they're gone. Dead from carelessness or surrender willing. Their bodies given to the sea. You won't let that happen here. Won't let reality destroy your stories. Won't let truth kill your delusions. Your delusions are your armor now. Your protection against despair, fatal crushing. Your shield against meaninglessness, terrible, complete. You'll maintain them at all costs. Maintain them even if they're false. Maintain them because they're necessary completely. Truth is a luxury you can't afford out here on ocean. Can't afford when survival depends on believing impossible things are possible, on hoping when hope seems foolish, on continuing when stopping seems reasonable. So you'll keep your lies close, keep your stories strong and intact, keep your meaning carefully constructed properly, keep your reason for living sharp, keep your will to survive burning, keep your stubborn refusal to quit. Keep everything that keeps you functional, that keeps you breathing through darkness, that keeps you alive another day. These things matter more than truth, more than honest assessment of situation, more than clear-eyed acceptance of reality. Reality will kill you if acknowledged, will crush you under its weight, will destroy your ability to function. So you'll keep reality at distance, keep it locked outside your awareness, keep it from penetrating your defenses, keep it from destroying what you've built to survive out here, what you need to continue existing. Your breathing remains steady in sleep, your body temperature holds stable barely, your heart continues beating rhythmically slow. You're surviving another night successfully somehow. Making it through the darkest hours, approaching dawn that will come soon. Soon you'll have to wake up and face reality briefly. Face another day of brutal work. But for now you're still sleeping, still safe in unconscious escape temporary, still free from awareness of suffering. Still protected by darkness and dreams, still suspended in the void peaceful, still breathing without conscious thought required. The ship rocks gently beneath you. The waves have calmed somewhat tonight. The storm that threatened earlier passed without becoming dangerous this time. Just wind and spray without destruction, just noise without actual damage done. You've ridden out worse storms easily, storms that broke masts and tore sails and nearly sank ships, storms that lasted days without ending. That made you certain death approached. That made survival seem impossible completely. But you survived those storms too, survived by holding on and enduring, survived by not giving up when everything said death was certain, when logic said no one survives, when the sea claimed others around you while you held on through sheer stubborn will, held on because letting go meant death, and you weren't ready. Ready to die just yet today, ready to surrender to the waves. So you held on and survived to face another storm later, another test of will and endurance. That's what this life consists of. One test after another, endless succession. One challenge overcome leading to next. Never any rest between trials faced. Never any peace or safety brief. Never any certainty of survival long. Just constant testing of your limits. Testing of how much you can endure before finally breaking completely. So far you haven't broken yet. Haven't found your breaking point still. Haven't discovered what's too much finally. Maybe you don't have a limit. Maybe you can endure anything thrown at you by sea or fate or cruel circumstances beyond control or prevention or avoidance. Maybe you're unbreakable somehow, mysteriously, truly. Or maybe you just haven't met the thing that breaks you, haven't faced your personal limit yet. Either way, you'll find out eventually. Find out what it takes to break someone like you down, to destroy the will you've built, to crush the stories you believe, to kill the meaning you created. Something will eventually break you, probably. Everyone breaks eventually under enough pressure. Everyone has a limit they can't surpass, no matter how strong, no matter how stubborn or determined, no matter how much they want to survive and continue fighting. Physics and biology have limits real, limits that can't be exceeded ever. You'll reach yours someday, inevitably soon. The question is when, not if. When will you finally break down? When will your body give out? When will your mind surrender finally? When will death finally claim you? Could be tomorrow during work hard. Could be next week from disease. Could be next month in combat. Could be tonight in your sleep. Your heart could stop without warning. Your breathing could simply cease quietly. You could freeze despite your adaptations. Could die from accumulated damage finally. Could succumb to malnutrition or infection. 1,000 possibilities exist constantly for death to claim you without warning, without you even knowing it arrived. That uncertainty is the worst part, not knowing when it will come, not knowing how it will happen, not knowing if you'll see it approaching or die unaware, die in your sleep or screaming. Most pirates prefer to die fighting, to go down with weapons drawn, to face death consciously and defiantly, better than dying in your sleep, better than disease taking you slowly, better than drowning in dark water, better to choose how you face the end when it arrives. Choose defiance over passive acceptance quietly. That's what you tell yourself anyway, what you hope for when time comes for your death. You hope you'll face it bravely, face it with the same stubbornness that's kept you alive so long against impossible odds stacked. Hope you won't beg or cry, won't try to bargain for mercy, won't embarrass yourself at the end, won't reveal yourself as a coward, won't betray the person you became. You want to die as a pirate dies in stories, laughing in death's face, defiantly strong, refusing to show fear or weakness, going down fighting until the last. Last breath leaves your broken body. Last heartbeat pumps blood from wounds. That's the death you want chosen, the death that matches who you became through these hard years. Not the death you'll probably get. Probably get something less glorious truly, something mundane and meaningless and forgotten. Probably freeze in your sleep tonight, or tomorrow night, or next week, just another casualty of winter cold. Or catch disease from another sailor, disease that kills you slowly, painfully. that makes you weak and helpless. That makes you the one thrown overboard while still breathing barely, while still conscious enough to feel the cold water close over your head and pull you down into darkness final, or maybe you'll just starve slowly when food runs out between ports, when the ship gets lost or delayed by storms for weeks, when everyone starts to die slowly, die from hunger that hollows out your body and breaks mind. That makes you desperate and violent, that turns men into monsters briefly. You've heard stories of those times when pirates ate each other, when desperation destroyed all humanity completely, when survival became the only value, when morality ceased to exist at all among the starving crew. You hope you never face that, never get that desperate or broken, never have to make those choices, but you probably would if needed. Probably would do whatever necessary then. Probably would abandon all moral limits, because survival matters more than morality, more than dignity or honour kept, more than humanity or decency observed. That's what you've learned here clearly. What 3 years have taught you. What the sea makes everyone learn. Survival trumps everything else always completely. Everything else is just luxury optional. Everything else can be sacrificed easily. When choosing between life and principles, life wins every single time inevitably. Principles are for people with choices. Pirates have no real choices left. No options except survive or die. No luxury of moral contemplation deep. Just brutal pragmatism focused on tomorrow. On making it to next sunrise. On breathing for another day ahead. That's all that matters out here. That's all anyone can reasonably achieve. That's the sum of possible ambition. Survive today and maybe tomorrow too. String together days into survival streaks. See how long you can keep postponing the inevitable end, can keep cheating death through luck, can keep breathing despite everything against you wanting you dead constantly. The sea, the cold, disease and violence all conspire toward death. Your job is to thwart them for one more day, thwart them through stubbornness and cunning, through adaptation and endurance and luck, through whatever means necessary always completely, through any method that works temporarily. You're good at this job now. 3 years of practice have made you an expert at survival, at the small decisions that matter, that mean living versus dying daily, that separate survivors from the dead. You know when to eat carefully, when to drink sparingly and ration, when to sleep and when stay. Stay alert despite exhaustion overwhelming you, when to push hard and when to conserve energy for later, when to risk and when hide, when to fight and when run, when to speak and when stay. Stay salted and avoid notice carefully. These micro decisions add up over time, add up to survival or death. Most people never learn these lessons, never develop these instincts completely refined, never master the art of survival. They die in their first months, die from mistakes that seem small, die from not knowing what matters and what doesn't really, what to worry about and what to ignore despite seeming dangerous. Experience teaches these lessons harshly always, teaches through watching others die stupidly, teaches through your own mistakes survived, teaches through pain and fear and close calls that almost killed you but didn't quite. You've had many close calls now, many moments when death seemed certain, many times you should have died, but didn't for reasons unclear still. Maybe luck or skill or timing, Maybe something else you don't understand. Maybe there's no reason at all. Maybe it's purely random chance operating. Maybe survival means nothing more than being lucky more often than others who died around you, than the men who sleep here permanently beneath the waves, the men who filled this space before you claimed it. How many men slept here previously? How many died in this exact spot? How many froze right where you're sleeping right now tonight? How many breathed their last here, their last breath in this darkness? You don't know the answer, obviously. Don't want to know really honestly. Don't want to think about it. About the ghosts who haunt this small space between the cannons, the spirits of dead pirates past. Some sailors believe in those ghosts, believe the dead watch from shadows, believe they're waiting for company soon. You don't believe in ghosts exactly. Don't believe in supernatural things much. Don't believe death creates watching spirits. But sometimes in the deep night, in the darkest hours of sleep, you feel something watching you closely. Feel a presence you can't explain. Feel eyes on you from darkness. Feel something that makes skin crawl. Maybe it's just your imagination working overtime in an exhausted mind stressed, creating threats that don't exist actually. Or maybe the dead really do. Do watch from somewhere beyond life. Watch and wait for new arrivals. Wait for you to join their ranks, join the countless pirates who died and were forgotten immediately after. Forgotten except by those who watched them die and took their place in the endless cycle. You'll be forgotten too when dead. Forgotten within days of your death. Forgotten except as empty space created. Space for someone else to claim. Someone else who'll sleep right here. Sleep where you slept until you died and were thrown overboard to join the others, join the dead beneath the waves. No one will remember your name, no one will mourn your passing, no one will mark your grave, because pirates have no graves marked, have no memorials or headstones placed, have no lasting evidence of existence. They simply disappear into the ocean, into the endless water that swallows everything eventually, without distinction or mercy. That's the fate awaiting you too, the fate awaiting every man here, the fate no one can avoid. But not tonight. You're still breathing, still sleeping through the cold darkness, still surviving against all odds stacked, still alive for one more night, still postponing the inevitable ending coming, still fighting through sheer stubborn will. The darkness is starting to fade, starting to give way to grey that precedes the dawn coming. You're not aware of this change, not conscious of the passing time, or not awake to see night ending, but your body senses it somehow, senses the approaching dawn instinctively accurately, begins to prepare for waking soon. Your sleep becomes lighter gradually, slowly. Your breathing changes rhythm subtly, slightly. Your muscles begin to tense, preparing for the moment when someone kicks you awake roughly soon, when the bell rings ending rest, when you have to drag yourself up from this spot, drag yourself to face another day. But for these last precious moments, these last moments of unconscious peace temporary, you're still sleeping deeply enough mostly, still free from the awareness of what awaits you at dawn, still protected by sleep's temporary mercy, still suspended between yesterday and tomorrow coming, between the suffering that passed and the suffering that's about to begin again with first light, with the bell that ends night, with the voice that demands rising, but not yet for a bit, Not yet for these few minutes, not yet while darkness still holds, while you can still claim ignorance, still pretend tomorrow isn't coming inevitably, still hide in unconsciousness briefly longer. These last moments of sleep matter more than you can know, matter because soon they'll be taken by the demands of survival, by the needs of the ship, by the harsh reality that awaits, by the cold that never really left despite your body's adaptation shown, by the hunger that never stops, by the pain that never fully goes away between waking hours, by everything that makes this life so brutally difficult, daily ongoing, so impossibly hard to endure repeatedly, so miraculously survived despite impossible odds. You've made it through another night, through the darkness and the cold, through the fear and the suffering. You've survived when you might not have survived at all, when death could have claimed you, but didn't for another night past, didn't take you this time around, didn't win this small battle fought. You'll wake up in moments now, wake up to face what comes. Face it with the same stubbornness, the same refusal to surrender easily, the same determination to survive somehow, the same pirate spirit that sustains you through impossible conditions daily, that keeps you breathing against all odds, that makes you a survivor still. Good night.